One thing I know, success is all about momentum. In court, or you can win, but you gotta believe you can win.
But what if you don't?
Then you better fake it till you make it.
The Lincoln lawyer, that what they call you?
Some do, yes.
Why?
They worked out of my car.
But that's not why you're here. Jerry Vincent left you his practice, including the Trevor Elliott trial.
It's that guy who killed his wife and her boyfriend.
Allegedly.
You checked out well. High-performing trial lawyer, much better than Jerry, until you went off the deep end.
You took off in the dead of night.
Do you think Dad's okay?
Don't worry about him too, honey.
Want her family back.
Can we just take it one step at a time?
Yeah.
Someone has been following you. You're at risk, counselor.
And then knock.
Somebody thinks you know something. So what is it?
Let him knock some more.
Where are you going?
I think better on the road.
They're saying you need a little protection.
There's something really weird going on here.
I'm missing something.
Don't ask questions you don't want answers to. You need this just as much as I do. This is your one shot. So you better take it.
Everybody lies. Even the best liars give themselves away.
People are dead. Maybe you and I are next.
Are we bringing the dog every day?
He's still getting used to me working away from home.
The house with Everybody Counts co-host Mike Martini. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me again, or thanks for having me on again. It's been a while.
All good. Yeah, it's a long time coming, and a show that is part of Michael Connelly's universe, but a separate fictional adaptation. It is the one, the only Lincoln Lawyer show. Just wrapped its second season on Netflix.
To a very good reception, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So
yeah, anyone who I've seen kind of just not smack talk it seems to just like not be into these kinds of shows, or just didn't stopped after 2 episodes. But I don't know what they were watching.
Well, I know some people are kind of like, well, why did half the season drop? Or it's like, oh, we only get 5 episodes for season 2, and it's like the others are coming. I like how they spaced it out a little bit. Even Ted Humphrey was saying something like that Netflix approached him about it, and they just happened to have a nice cliffhanger right at the end of episode 5. So
right?
He's like, yeah, let's do it, because they did the same thing with Stranger Things last year. Split up the 8 or 9 episodes they had.
Those are the same people who probably complain if they go through it in one day and now they have to wait. I'm like, well, I mean, what do you want us to do?
Well, I know what I do. I rewatch it.
There you go.
Because there's always stuff I pick up on the second or third time around.
Right?
Especially
stuff
with
you can't predict.
Well, it's that because I know they've adapted like the same kind of, from Bosch, that you want to stick true to the main story, but also has a few little twists or turns, or it's a different killer or something like that.
Oh yeah.
So there's always something different than what it is in the books, and I like that little twist.
That's a good point. So I have you read most or all of the books, or?
I've either read them or been listening to them on Audible recently too.
There you go. So yeah, I was very familiar with the character. I had read some Bosch books, some of them without even realizing, oh, that is part of the whole Bosch universe. But Yeah, my research a while back made me just my mind was blown when I realized, whoa, oh, the main Mickey Haller character is like the half brother of Harry Bosch.
Yep.
uh, who would have guessed it? There's many people who still seem to know it mainly from the uh, Matthew McConaughey movie from 2011. How would you say? I mean, it's apples and oranges, but how would you say either portrayal illustrated the fictional character?
Well, I think Manuel's doing a really good job with the role of Mickey Haller, because I know that they've mentioned in the books that it's more of the, he was born in L.A., but he was kind of raised up in Mexico for most or part of his life.
Mhm.
So they got the background there. I think Matthew McConaughey, I loved the movie when it came out, and they made a few changes towards the end of the movie, which I'm like, hey, that's
A little more
works.
sexy.
It fits.
Yeah.
A little bit more sexy, but it's like, what was it? Where Mickey Haller shows up at the doorstep with the gun when Ross Roulet shows up at the door. That wasn't in the book, but I'm like, ooh, I like that, because you see Mickey Haller protecting his ex-wife and daughter from this, serial killer. And then with the motorcycle gang that shows up and start beating the crap out of Ross Roulet, and Matthew McConaughey's, character, or Mickey Haller says, remember, emergency room, not the morgue, or hospital, not the morgue. So make him hurt, but don't kill him, type of thing.
There you go.
So it was nice changes there, and like I said, Manuel, I think, is doing a spectacular job with, just because he's the main character, so he's going to be having the camera on him most of the time.
Totally.
But it's also,
Totally. Yep.
mm-hmm. So it's nice seeing the differences, but at the same time, when I've been listening to the audiobooks, I know Titus Welliver started reading the books in 2014.
Oh,
So when it
nice.
got to
It's a nice
when it
side
got
hustle.
to the crossover episodes, like the crossing, the reversal, Titus didn't do the reversal. So the Bosch books that involve Mickey Haller, Titus kind of takes on that Matthew McConaughey sound, hey, bro, Haim, bro, Haim, and stuff like that. But it's like, so you don't really picture Manuel saying, hey, bro, Haim, when he's going up to Griggs, something like that. With the copyright issues, they couldn't have Bosch being in the show, which a
Right.
lot of fans were kind of, well, when are we going to get Titus Welliver in the Lincoln Lawyer, or get Manuel Garcia Ruffalo in Bosch? And it's like, well, good luck. You have a better chance of making world peace than making that happen with Amazon and Netflix,
Can you
banding
believe
together.
CBS passed on this? What would have stopped them from making this an addicting show?
I know that was kind of weird when CBS passed on it, considering
It's like they
that.
had a contract and then they're like, oh, we got too many shows. We don't want to pick it up. We'll take the
Yeah,
hit.
I know.
It's like,
But at that time when they cut it, I was saying to my family, and I think I even posted it on Facebook or Twitter, it's like, Amazon, pick this up, because then you get crossover with Bosch and the Lincoln Lawyer.
kind of what
Because
they're
at that
doing with
time,
the Jack Ryan stuff now, where the John Clark Without Remorse movie is said to be in that same universe as the John Krasinski show. So yeah, people
okay.
love crossovers.
Yeah, crossover. Also like Dick
When they're done
Wolf with
well.
the Chicago series.
Absolutely.
Got Chicago Fire, PD, and Med,
Part
and
of
they
the
even
St.
crossed over.
Elsewhere, Oz, Law and Order
Yeah,
universe.
Yeah, I know they constantly can cross over, and that I think a lot of fans are wanting that. But I like the separate entity of it all, because obviously
Yeah.
it's on two different streaming platforms, so you
Mhm.
get what to pay for. But I think the guy who they got playing Griggs, it's like this. When I was rewatching the second season, mostly he was Griggs was known for saying "fucking holler," like it's like almost like the Lance Reddick saying "fucking Bosch," for
That's as much as they got with the
Irvin.
signature.
Yeah, exactly. There's always that signature little line there. So, and I'm like, so I think Griggs is a nice addition to the universe for that show, playing the role of Bosch.
Absolutely. I guess I'll do a breakdown of cast and crew before we hit it real deep. So this was developed by Ted Humphrey. And as we mentioned before, CBS passed on it. But either way, it was created, and the showrunner was David E. Kelley, who many have been immortalized by LA Law, The Practice, Boston Legal, but yeah, Humphrey has his fair share of giant TV hits as well. The Good Wife, The Unit, so many other just very short-lived but very illustrative sci-fi and mystery shows. It stars Manuel Garcia Rufo of Sicario 2 and Magnificent Seven as Mickey Haller, who, yes, is the charismatic, former addict, criminal defense lawyer who drives his expensive Lincoln Navigator. As Neve Campbell as criminal prosecutor, and his first ex-wife, we might know her from Scream.
Exactly.
Joining Haller's staff is Becky Newton as Lorna, his second wife and legal aid. You might know Becky from How I Met Your Mother. Mickey's driver, Izzy, a former addict and client, is played by Jazz Ray Cole, who you might know from My Wife and Kids and Jericho. And then you got his private eye, Cisco, who's also later marries Lorna, played by Angus Sampson of Mad Max Fury Road and Fargo Season 2 fame. And then the list of clients includes Christopher Gorham as Trevor Elliott. You might know him from various DC animated movie crossovers. It also, Gorham plays Trevor Elliott, a video game developer accused of 2 homicides. And then his second client in season 2 is restaurant owner and head chef Lisa Trammell, played by Lana Parrilla, Once Upon a Time, 24, and Boomtown fame. You might also know her from Spin City. She's another chameleon who's been in everything. But yes, Perilla's character, I can't read today. Lisa is accused of killing a real estate developer, and from that point on, there's plenty of other recurring characters, including Mickey's soap opera actress mother, his mentor and unofficial uncle, David Legal Siegel, played by the great Elliot Gould, and Knives Out, Marlene Forda as the judge, Teresa Medina, who is very blunt, and plenty of other actors as well, where you're going to go, that guy, oh, that gal, oh, hey, that person.
Mm-hmm.
The district attorney is played by Carlos Bernard. That's right, Tony Almeida from 24 plays
Exactly.
Robert Sardone. Oh man,
funny thing about that. Okay, so I was rewatching season 1. This was
yes,
2 or 3 months ago, right? I was rewatching it because I was preparing for season 2, and I'm at the episode where Cardone stops by Maggie's office, where he's basically telling her she's being shipped out to Van Nuys. My wife walks in the room and she's like, "Oh, that's Tony." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" His character is Bob Cardone. She goes, "No, it's Tony Almeida from 24." I'm like, "No, it's not." So I pause it, I bring it back, I listen to his voice. I'm like, okay, I see. Yeah, she picked it up by just the voice, just his voice. She picked up that. Oh, that's Carlos Bernard from
he does
24.
have a particular voice.
So it's like I felt stupid because I'm like, this is my 3rd or 4th time watching it through, and I never picked up. Oh, that's Carlos Bernard.
Absolutely, man. He's been a very prolific guy. He's directed various episodes of Hawaii Five-0 and now the FBI shows. But I dig how you get this kind of pattern where all these people who were on something like The Sopranos, ER, 30-something, and are now at basically the 3rd stage of their career, and they're helping all these other actors on hit shows for network and cable TV get comfortable. But yeah, the voice does kind of just resonate a bit. My mother would just recognize him instantly. Like we'd see something like Madam Secretary, and like, Tony.
Yep, exactly. So it was just kind of funny where the wife picked up on that, where I was watching it and I hadn't even picked up on it. It's like, sometimes you're too involved in a show where it's like you
right
overlook or overhear something. So
totally. And this was no slouch with any of the different actors. I recognize the building inspector as one of the diplomats in Olympus Has Fallen. Bruce Davison was one of the judges. You might know him as the
Yes.
melting senator from X-Men. I was blown away by Yaya DaCosta from Chicago Med, because it's like, oh, she's playing the opposing prosecutor. But I like how they got friendly rivalry, but when they're in the thick of the legal arguments, oh, it's not pleasant. And
Absolutely.
good call out to John Tinney as Mickey Sr. in the flashback. You might know him from Tombstone, The Closer, and like every other fun movie or show. But I think the biggest surprise for me was there's another Bosch connection. Was Teddy, the motorcycle gang leader, Chris Browning?
Yep.
He already played that serial killer on like a season and a half of Bosch. I think it was like season 3 to 5.
Preston Borders in season 5. Yep.
All right, so there you go. And so he must this must have a lot of the same casting department. But yeah, when he's like at the 5th stage of his career, because like when he started out, I would see him play like a henchman, but he didn't always have a line of dialogue, or he'd play a cowboy. And then I think somewhere after 09 and 010, I started seeing him on just more recurring TV roles, and it's like interesting. So I like how there's a mix of helping out the little guy, the semi-known guys, and don't get me wrong, David E. Kelley does reuse a lot of his people who you're going to recognize from other stuff. Jamie McShane, another Bosch guy, plays the questionable detective. You previously saw him as one of the other reluctant crooked cops on Bosch. And so I'm glad that he's gotten a star boost too, because he's another one who's just been working. Now he's like at the 6th stage of his career. But the main David E. Kelley connections I thought was interesting was our main guy, Manuel Garcia. Apparently he was a recurring role on Goliath, but I didn't recognize him for whatever reason.
Oh, really? I didn't recognize him either in that. But also at the same time, once when I knew that Manuel was going to be Mickey Haller, I looked up his IMDb profile, but I just kind of scrolled through. It's like, oh, or I'd be like, oh, I like that show. Oh, I like that show. But I never went back to rewatch those shows. In fact, going back to Griggs, he was also in Bosch. He played Irving's brother-in-law.
Oh, yeah. Shame on me for forgetting that. Oh, yeah. So Detective.
Oh, don't worry about it. Detective Griggs. Yeah, he plays Irving's brother-in-law in seasons, what was that, 3?
I think so.
Seasons 2 and 3.
Yeah, when he's running for like council. And Natari Mouine, I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to take a stab at the name, because it's like, oh, that's but yeah, he was Irving's brother-in-law when so he would show up when Irving was going through the divorce proceedings, and
absolutely
Irving told him that they should catch a game of golf sometime, and I think that was the last episode we actually saw him. So I kind of like how they, like, again, the same kind of thing where Bosch characters are switching over to the Mickey Haller show. So.
Right, give them each something fun to do.
Exactly. Well, heck, even in season 2, they had the who played the FBI agent Brenner played Lisa Trammell's ex-husband that pops up in season 2, saying that he'd testify for Mickey just to let him know what to say. And it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. If you want to come and testify, do it, but I'm not going to tell you what to say. I'm not going to tell you to lie on the stand. Of course, right. He was only at money. So Mickey just kind of kicked him to the curb, saying, just get the F away from me type of thing. So quite a few crossovers from Bosch into the Lincoln Lawyer, but it's fun to see them, see the actors getting work at the same time.
Absolutely. And to just see just these many guys just getting a moment to shine really is just so intriguing.
Absolutely.
Altogether, I must applaud just the way this is shot. Like the various LA locations just give you a good sense of just the brooding suspense around the corner, and the different sides of everyone. Apparently, there was a great song that that wonderful song, I cannot speak today. That so the Silver Sun Pickups had a new single and they premiered it in the finale for season 2, and I was like, see, that was a perfect song pick because it corresponded to what was going on. Like,
Yes.
I change, I have layers. I'm like, see, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Goes
think
to the-
everything. I mean, season one was a hit right off the bat. I loved how they were doing the camera angles. There was two that I actually pointed out to Ted Humphrey on Twitter. Was the in the pilot or the first episode, they kind of do the overhead shot as the convertible Lincoln is driving through an intersection. You get the overhead shot of the convertible. And
So
later
lovely.
on in the season, they're doing like this like slow spin around the courtroom. Not really spinning
Yes.
around one person, but there's kind of like panning around the whole courtroom so you could see what happened. And in season 2, they kind of reenacted that where you go from Mickey Haller asking the questions of, I think it was either Lisa or it was on the defense side, where you go from Mickey asking the questions, it pans around, then you see the Andrea Freeman asking questions of the same witness. I'm like, so they've really, I think I even pointed out to Ted Humphrey, or maybe I've mentioned it on the So Many Shows podcast for the Lincoln lawyers that,
Hmm.
I really like how they've incorporated more of LA into season 2 than what they kind of were doing with season 1. You get,
Absolutely.
what is it, the 6th Street Bridge at the end of season 2, where Mickey Haller's celebrating the victory of getting Jesus Menendez finally is clear,
Right.
we can't be retried. They finally got the bad guy. So he's celebrating there, and the shots are over, or as he's driving over the 6th Street Bridge. And it
Mhm.
was like just a beautiful scenery. I'm like, boy, next time I get out to LA, I got to drive over that bridge, But even using the pedestrian bridge that's connected to the courthouse, I believe.
Yeah,
Um, so
that's
it's
so
like
true.
a little few more drone shots. They got more shots like the navigator driving around the
The
Hollywood
cars, its
Hills.
character too. That's so true. And
Exactly.
you
So
like,
I mean, you gotta incorporate the Lincolns into the Lincoln line too.
well, I'm
So
just happy that they threw everyone a bone here, basically. Like, uh, Bill D'Elia's pretty much, he's worked with uh, David E. Kelley since Chicago Hope days and was kind of one of the lead directors on Boston Legal for a while. But I liked how there were some new names in there as well. People who had worked on everything from like Walking Dead to Reservation Dog type shows, and
mhm.
a lot of minorities, and just like you say, the camera angles are just really vibrant and good at just bringing life to it instead of being over edited or confusing. Like, it's just
Yep.
it it echoes the mood that you're feeling in the room versus I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. And they kind of immerse you with the various camera angles as well. So which is nice. Cinematography,
Beautiful.
beautiful in both seasons. It was well done. In fact, I even reached out to Ted Humphrey on Twitter, obviously, but I reached out to him
The head
when
developer, nice.
when I saw the trailer for when he finished the 5 episodes and you saw the next month, with the next 5 episodes, there
Yes.
was they had in the trailer the shot from episode 9 where Mickey Haller's looking up at the skyline of LA, and you can see like the smog or cloud covered buildings or whatever, and I'm like, boy, that is a beautiful shot. So I reached out to him saying, I really like that shot, and I didn't know. He goes, oh yeah. He responded back saying that he can't wait for people to see that episode because it was episode 9, which he also directed.
Oh,
And
that's right. I did see his name at the end of one, and
yep,
I
he
forgot.
directed episode 9, but also another fun thing is he actually has a cameo in that episode.
Does he really?
When yes, and I kind of picked up on the first time I watched it because you kind of see the camera pan as this guy is walking through the hallway when Lorna's kind of chanting something to herself, like the universe is working for me. The
Oh,
universe
I
is working
remember
for
there
me.
was a guy who looked at her like,
Yep.
"What the hell?"
Yeah, the guy that's walking by looking at her going, what the hell's with her? That's Ted Humphrey. So when I saw that he had a cameo, I think Tracy Phillips mentioned it. So when I was rewatching, I'm like, okay, it was that scene where I thought originally, okay, this has got to be a cameo of some sort. I just didn't look into it at the time.
Who's
So, but
who?
yeah, so it's like, so the shots and the scenery and, immersing, like you said, immersing the viewers into each shot, into each episode. It's a really fun thing to do. So,
Totally. And I like how everyone's just like looking at each other instead of just the paranoid, like angry glances. They're like, okay, walk this way. The press is coming this way. Oh, we still need a moment to talk. Time's up.
yep.
Oh
And what
man.
was it? I know I'm kind of going all over the place too, but that
No, it's
flashback
all good.
scene you mentioned earlier in season 1, one of the reporters' name is Connelly because Michael Holler
I noticed
Sr.
that.
Yep, calls one of the reporters, or even says it by name. It's like, or he says something. It's like, but yeah, he calls one of the reporters Conley, and it's like if you were to look back at like pictures of Michael Conley when he was younger, he kind of had the same kind of look, goatee, glasses.
Didn't he do some journalism briefly?
Yes, he worked.
Okay.
I think he did worked the crime beat back when he first started getting going before he
There you
started
go.
publishing books. So he was a reporter way back when,
Sweet.
and in fact, it took him like if I remember correctly, it took him like 3-4 years to write the first book, even.
Mm-hmm.
So you go from that to having a book out every year. It's I mean, but he also keeps really busy. I mean, he's had. So he's so it was the Lincoln Lawyer movie. Well, before that, it was blood work.
Yeah, the Clint Eastwood.
He didn't, yeah, but he didn't get a lot of time on set. In fact, I think he even said that he had to have like almost permission to even go on set sometimes.
Mm,
He had to have like
that's a
he had
shame.
to give him an advance notice of when he was going to drop by, and it is. You think it's like the author of the book, you think you'd want his input on stuff, and that's
You would
why
think.
that's why I never really cared for the movies. I mean, even the first time I watched it, I hadn't even read the book. I'm like, it's kind of, I don't know, campy or something. I don't know, but
Yeah,
I never really cared for it. Then when I read people saying, "Oh, the book's way better because the book's, it goes in more depth as most books do," but also the ending's totally different than in the movie.
I would
So I
think so, because the last part of that movie, like, just has Clint Eastwood just getting into random arguments with cops, and I don't know why in any mystery movie you want to show part of someone's face as they're doing the murder. Like,
yeah, exactly.
then there's no
Supposed
suspense.
to be a mystery and suspense. But
Mhm.
like going back to, so Michael Connelly has been super busy, especially since Bosch has taken off, because he's been working on that, and then the last couple of years it's been with the Lincoln Lawyer. They're
Mhm.
shooting a pilot, which is why Nev Campbell kind of stopped being in episodes after episode 6 of season 2.
I was wondering
Um,
about that, if she was filming a
Yep.
movie at the time.
Well, it was a pilot that was based off of a Michael Connelly short called Avalon. They shot a pilot on Catalina Island. It was supposed to take,
Oh.
it's like a detective on Catalina Island and a case that she's working. And I love the premise, but when I heard that Nev Campbell wasn't going to be in season 2 as much, and then we get the first 5 episodes drop, I'm like, well, she's in every episode. Hey, they're flirting. They're getting along. It's awesome. And then they stop flirting, and she's pissed that that Mickey Haller had used her and Haley as a way to try to get Andrea off the case. And then it's like, but we were able to see her through all 5 episodes. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And then the 6th episode dropped with 6 through 10.
Right?
And then, like I said, in episode 6, they kind of go their separate ways.
Journey starts to
Spoiler
play.
alert.
Separate ways.
Exactly. So then we don't see her after that, and I'm like, oh, okay. So that's when she was off filming that pilot episode for Avalon, which actually from last I heard, I think they're still trying to shop it around to see if anybody will pick it up. It's one of those that were filmed in the hopes of maybe CBS getting it or whatever. I think it was CBS or something like that, but I can't remember for sure.
Yeah. It wouldn't take much to just retitle movies and shows half the time these days and just ship them to Tubi, ship them to Hulu.
Yep. Or just like what they did with Legacy, Freevee, but it's obviously an offshoot of Amazon, but so
True. Yeah. Bosch Legacy. Yeah. Was there to promote that division of Amazon. So I think the biggest casting surprise for me was Judge Mary Holder, the chief judge of LA who's found in a scandal and played by Lisa Gay Hamilton, who again, shot to fame on David E. Kelley's The Practice, and then she's been on plenty of other movies and shows, including Men of a Certain Age, Jackie Brown, Sum of All Fears, and The Soloist. And what did you think about that final reveal? I don't want to give everything away, but I mean, it was just insane.
That was season one, so I think we can spoil that a little bit.
Okay.
Obviously, I read the book, so that happens in the book. What happens at the end of season one, where Mickey Haller kind of goes into her office and then confronts her, and she's obviously saying, "I could end you right now," type of thing.
Right.
And so I read the book, but you never knew, because you didn't know if things were going to switch around from the book to the show.
And there's 600 layers to each mystery that you got to still dive into.
But also they don't really show their cards in the Lincoln Lawyer, because when it came to season one, where Mickey Haller thought it was when he was trying to get Jesus Menendez a new trial.
Yes, character was in both the movie version and in this version, and I liked how they carried it on to season two, where they're like, "Hey, we still got to conclude this."
Exactly. I like how they kind of ended it on season one with like the way they did, because it's like, well, there's still a killer out there. So it's so Mickey was told by Griggs, but you don't hear the audio. But Griggs was telling him that the detective that was working with Nev Campbell, Jamie McShane's character, McShane's character was the one that had Lisa Perez go tell Glory Days to get the hell out of town, or they'll make trouble for the Jesus Menendez trial. So it's like, and then like with the Judge Holder, it's like I can't remember if it was Griggs or it was Cisco that found the connection between Holder, her husband, and the juror number 7, which turned out to be the killer.
Oh yeah,
Jerry Vincent. So it's like you don't see the evidence. They just kind of, well, here it is. So at the end of the season, or at the end of the season one, Mickey Haller's in the office and confronts Holder about it, and Griggs is outside the door with a pair of handcuffs for her. So
on the other lieutenant guy who had kind of just entered the kind of let the restaurant owner gal kind of hang herself and then act like we got our killer. I was so used to seeing him on like 2 other procedurals recently, and same kind of deal where it's just very much like McShane's character, where he's just like, man, some sloppy police work, even though some of these guys do turn out to be bad apples, but then there's still some of the ones who are, again, like, just this person could have gone away for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
Wrongfully accused.
Exactly. And that's, I don't know how much of that is life, because I mean, there's obviously bad apples out there in all walks of life, police, prosecutors, defense attorneys. But it's like, but it's also a fictional books, fictional show, and it kind of makes you think a little bit at the same time. So
if anything, it just makes you on the lookout for stuff when it does happen in real life. Like I saw there was like a report, I think earlier this year, where there was like some FBI informant who had been at some BLM riots causing chaos, and it just sounded like the whole thing where this was off the grid and not well thought out, and this guy was doing more harm than good. And I was like, man, this sounds like a bad episode of FBI or 24. And then
really
on this with the attorneys, I mean, I look at the Power TV show franchise on Stars, which is edgy and everything, and there's so many different career criminals who have a legal business, as well as attorneys some of who are breaking the law just to put other bad apples away, even though they're also bad apples. So I mean, it does bring in just so many truths that, I mean, Ray Donovan kind of did that, where they were mocking celebrities who don't believe in what they claim to represent, and shady business managers and talent agents. So I applaud any work of fiction that can bring up topics that are otherwise clickbait or hard to discuss in real life.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So, but we never. One of the things that when we get into season 2 of The Lincoln Lawyer, we don't know who replaced Holder as the Supreme Court judge. And I was curious about who replaced her.
Yeah, I don't know if
I-
they just figured we'll let it breathe, have that be a surprise. Did they ever, in the books, did they ever revisit that?
I don't think so either. No, probably not.
So there you go. I guess they figured, hey, whoever took her spot can't be anywhere near as bought
As evil.
bribed.
Or you can't really go back to that well again. So who cares who the new Supreme Court judge is? Or
Oh,
whatever.
totally. 'Cause you knew there was going to be some dirt on both, people who Mickey's defending, but you just didn't know how or where it was going to come up. And then when it did, it still shocked you a bit, I guess, because it was like, okay, so you didn't do that crime, but you still did another awful crime.
Yeah, exactly.
So I still feel
Just
bad.
because you're innocent of one thing doesn't make you innocent of everything else, or not guilty of something else. That's
Right. Doesn't mean you're completely clean.
Exactly. See, that's if we're gonna dive into, or that's the end of season 2, which is, it was different than in the books. So if you guys or any listeners out there, go ahead and read the books, and you can find out what was originally written is also very fun. There's a fun little ending, differences and everything. But I highly suggest, if you like the season 2, is go back and read The Fifth Witness for.
It's a pretty tragic end, though. He has that one subplot where he works with the detectives and his ex to help put this one escort in like protective custody, and lo and behold, he gets a anonymous call from the morgue attendant saying, hey, this person claimed to have known you. You were their contact. And he's like, I don't recognize that name. Oh, it's the escort sex worker under a different name, and he murdered her. We thought she got away clean, like just living at a resort in Hawaii. And it's like, oh no, not good.
Yeah, she said she was going to go spend time with her mom in Hawaii. So, but then I recently, within the last month, I was re-listening to The Gods of Guilt, because I was hoping that would be a future season of The Lincoln Lawyer, and obviously season 2, the end of season 2 sets up
the 26th novel, by the way, guys.
Say what?
Michael Connelly's 26th novel in the 5th Lincoln Lawyer book.
But The Gods of Guilt was a great book. Then also, when I was listening to it, I'm like, oh yeah, because I think I've only read or listened to it like once or twice, so you kind of forget all that happens throughout the book.
Absolutely.
So when they got to the end of season 2 and they're setting it up for that, I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm like, but already? Come on,
Exactly. I have high hopes, especially when people are just showing now that they really do respect one another. And I mean, look at The Expanse. That was 2 authors under one name. It was on Sci-Fi for a few years, then on Amazon. So there you go. Amazon's figuring it out. But then they hire the lead writer to do what he wants with it. But they were able to make both, much like with Bosch, both the book fans and the show fans happy.
Mick, you're in the hospital. They broke your arm.
Nice.
Hospitals make me so nervous. They smell funny and there are ghosts everywhere.
No rest for the weary, huh?
I don't have time for a rest. Got a trial coming up.
They could have killed you, Mickey.
I didn't ask for this. I was just doing my job.
There's got to be another way to do your job. Safer, more conventional.
A lot of things, but conventional, that's not one of them.
I am warning you. Do not turn this trial into a circus.
Holler?
Andy, everything's gonna be okay.
Don't let yourselves be fooled. See through Mr. Holler's parlor tricks to the truth.
Is everything okay? Yeah. I'm sure everything's gonna be fine.
You
If you sacrifice too much for this job, you'll end up alone. It's a terrible Hollywood cliche.
Order! You are Mickey Holler, and you win cases. That's what you do. No matter who you're defending.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor.
And any changes that they made was just stuff they couldn't avoid. Like, let's recast this one actor, or let's write this actor out. He's got a scandal behind the scenes. It works for the story without feeling so obvious, like a last minute rewrite. And I do applaud both those shows because, again, you got to watch about 3 episodes just to comprehend everything that's going on, because you will forget something.
Oh yeah,
aren't taking notes. But I applaud just any of these guys for just giving this a chance. And maybe it is good that it wasn't on network TV. It would have been probably too complex or barely lasted a season. People are impatient now all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's like when they dropped the 10 episodes in 2 different time frames, people were like, wait a minute, but it's like it's not any different when you had to wait, like when 24 was started up 20 years ago. 24 right? Episodes, 1 episode per week. I know in like the later seasons they dropped like the first 2, then in the middle of the season they dropped 2, and then 2 at the end type of thing. But you had to wait, so basically you're watching 24 episodes in 20 weeks,
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's if they don't break for Christmas or Thanksgiving, so it could be 30 weeks you're waiting to watch 24 episodes. So I think a month to watch 10 episodes, that's a pretty good clip. Yeah.
It is a good deal, but it's not easy.
Yeah, I know people are going to be taking it slow, and that's good. People all watch shows at the different rates. I like how they did Bosch Legacy last year on Amazon Freevee, where you got 4 episodes right away, and then it was 3 episodes of 2 episodes per week for 3 weeks after that. So at least you got to dive in, get your feet wet a little bit, and then and they made it work. Where each kind of little break had a little cliffhanger. We're like, oh, I can't wait for next week. People don't get that nowadays. Where 24. I know I keep bringing it back to 24 a little bit here, but it's like 24.
Some of the fans are crossed over with
24 cliffhangers. Even at the end of the season, you're getting a cliffhanger. So then you had to wait 7-8 months till you get the next season.
Kiefer described it as we were filming 2 12-hour movies basically each season.
Yeah,
so I believe it.
I bet, and that must have been a lot of work.
I think in Japan, they even edit it as like movies, kind of like they do anime, I think. So.
Oh, really? Yeah. So it's nice seeing that we can get, it's not a full season dropped in one weekend, but I still enjoy rewatching the episodes because, like I said, it's like sometimes you'll miss something or you won't pick up on something right away. Where you're like, oh yeah, I love that shot there. I'm kind of I love camera angles. I love quotes.
Right.
So just to go back and rewatch the episodes, it's like you're talking earlier.
Something that's not just a case of the week. And, even the shows that have been on for a long time finally got with the program and said, we got to have more than just 1 or 2 serialized storylines. And
exactly.
Let's bring this character back who was a fan favorite and have them screw up the person's life. And I think we're just at the right time in place to just be able to have streaming as an option, because this wouldn't have existed on, maybe when network TV was getting edgier, it might have lasted a while, but it's so cool that they didn't have to play office politics or cater to, well, the producer wants this and the network wants that,
Yep, exactly. So it was like the clash of the minds back in the day, or in the business in general, I guess. But
there was that, and then there was, oh, well, we got a writer's strike. Can you imagine them having to do that in the second to last writer's strike back in 2007? That would have been a nightmare.
No, absolutely.
It would have been, okay, what do we do now?
Was it I know a few shows took a hit back then in the 07 Wasn't
Yeah.
Heroes one of the ones that kind of
That Prison Break, even just campy
Prison Break,
shows
that's
were
right.
just like beside themselves. I mean, you kind of even see that just with even network and other cable TV shows have kind of taken a hit where they're like, we got to just. I mean, Jack Ryan kind of lucked out because they filmed season 3 and 4 back to back because they were like, whatever happens, we're ending our show on time.
Ending the show on time and on their terms.
Yeah, absolutely. They after 4 years, they want to move on to the next thing, and I'm
Yep.
glad that anyone can make that happen.
Yeah, exactly. That's why when Connelly first started, when they were first hiring for Bosch, Michael Connelly asked Titus Welliver, what if this goes, 10, 12 seasons, are you in for the full ride? And Titus is like, I'm here until you don't want me anymore, basically. And
Can I bring my son?
exactly. Brings his kids to work and puts them to work in general. So I think all 3 of his kids have had roles in Bosch. But with going back to the Lincoln lawyer here, it's been fun seeing the progress from the characters throughout the first 2 seasons, because I know in the books, her name is Lorna Taylor. In the books, it's Laura Crane. In the show, I was gonna reach out to Ted and ask why the difference, because I think even in a scene in season 2, episode 1, he's getting emails from Lorna Taylor, which I think is Lorna Crane. So it might be like a maiden name, maybe. I don't know, because obviously her name's not going to be Wojciechowski at the end of her.
Maybe they
season
filmed it
3.
before they got picked up, and they had to change a few of the Easter eggs, but one still got through. I don't know.
Oh, maybe, or maybe
Speculation.
because of the movie, but I don't know.
Maybe that's it too.
Yeah,
No,
that's
that's true. They very well could have maybe wanted to remind everyone, hey, we were a thing.
Yeah, exactly. But going for Lorna's character, I think when I was listening to a podcast, Becky Newton was saying that it's her favorite project. It's her favorite character playing Lorna Crane, and you kind of see that. It's almost like she gets the best lines. When she was busting Mickey's chops about them having a relationship with Lisa, and she's like,
That's what I like
you're
too.
because you're basting her turkey, she's frosting your cake, and then she's like doing the whoop whoop thing, and it's like, I mean, you just you fall in love with the characters at the same time.
And it's a good use of that actress, using her comedic background again. And I mean, both Humphrey and David E. Kelley, on their various acclaimed dramas, have always just wanted to insert some humor just to settle the mood and just bring the characters to life. And it was just a good breather in between what was otherwise just a very serious and sometimes frantic thriller.
Yeah, exactly. Because you go from that scene there where Lorna's busting his chops about sleeping with Lisa, and then you get to the end of episode 5, and Mickey's blaming her for not copying, not copying or not bringing in the file that has Lisa's life rights that Lisa signed away.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You had them, basically, or Mickey's saying that. That she's been distracted with her wedding and school and all this other crap. And she's like, wait, no, you stop right there, and at the end of the conversation, she goes, fuck you, Holler. And it's like, ooh, you don't like seeing that from the characters, because you like that the scene from episode 2 or episode 1 where she's busting his chops, and it's a family dynamic between the 2 of them.
Absolutely.
So,
especially when
you get that.
There was that. And then when, again, the driver, Izzy,
Izzy.
She, kudos to whoever developed her subplot for this. Is like, she goes with, I gotta do college. My girlfriend bailed on me, so now all the rent I have to pay. And then yes, Lorna's coming in and having to help her report her just unprofessional, both the landlord and the building owner,
property manager. And property manager. Yep.
It's like, you do this again, we will report you and we'll win.
Exactly. It was fun seeing that they're there for each other. Even in season 1, you had Mickey having Izzy's back, when Izzy
Yeah.
stumbles, but you also had Izzy having Mickey's back when he was at the memorial for Jerry Vincent, and he had a beer and a shot in front of him. You know, Izzy comes in with the coffees, takes
And
the
Jerry
alcohol,
was the
lawyer that got Jerry Vincent was the one that got shot and killed in the first episode of episode one.
Shoot.
Season one, episode one. That's how Mickey Holler got all of his cases. So, so at the when Mickey was doing the speech at the bar for Jerry Vincent, and then drawing a blank, it's Detective Langford. Sorry, Langford.
Yes.
Who McShane plays. You know, it was busting his chops about Jesus being up in prison. You know, and then Mickey goes to the bar, orders a shot and a pint. And then it goes, the scene fades to black. So you think when it fades back in, you think it's like 2 hours later, you know, but it's probably minutes, only minutes pass by. And as he's bringing in the coffees for him and herself, and she takes the alcohol away from him.
Oh, totally. She is watching his every step. She's basically doing what I would do with every other person, where just watch, be the chauffeur and just watch when someone's about to embarrass themselves. It's like, just go home.
Or not embarrass themselves, but maybe or
just
for
can't
an
walk
addict
straight or something.
Exactly. You don't want your friends or coworkers to stumble and fall at any point.
Oh, totally.
And then so you had them helping each other in season one. You know, I loved how her character was developed in season two. Izzy's character. Not only is she driving Mickey around, but she's also trying to start a dance studio.
She's listening to a true crime podcast and kind of being his unofficial spy, because then when the client Lisa is trying to find ways to pay her bills, and her true crime podcaster partner is ripping her off, as well as affecting the legal case, that I thought that was just really cool, how she's just leaning in saying, "Oh, boss, you're not gonna like what you're here," and she just played a clip for him.
Yep, played the commercial, whatever it is.
Yeah, you gotta file a cease and desist.
That's right. And because Lisa was going to talk to Henry Dahl, but didn't, so Mickey had to use the legal ramifications of said.
And that just built up our anger, because I mean, I've been fortunate enough to even listen to some other true crime podcasters, and some of them have had to school other people on, hey, if you're going to dramatize this, make more disclaimers, or make sure you've talked to the victims or people involved. So, or just insinuate, hey, we added some fiction here, or we're actually trying to tell the story, because it really can actually be kind of an additional legal ramification if you're influencing a still at large case.
Yep.
And it built up our anger for because I mean, they show right away in season 2, hey, he's going to get mugged somewhere in the parking lot, which is also kind of a callback to season 1, when he was having him and his private eye were spying on a few other shady people, and is like, and then lo and behold, in that season cliffhanger is like, okay, he got mugged real bad, but here's the twist. They weren't even trying to steal his legal files. They were just basically trying to send a message. That's even scarier.
Yep. Exactly.
They didn't need the evidence. They just wanted to cripple him.
Yeah, I know in the book, the character got it really bad in the book. I don't know if this was intentionally written. I don't know. Have you read the books? Or
I've only read some of the Bosch books, so I mean, this is interesting.
So in the book,
I might have to,
Witness, yeah. They dive in a little bit deeper. That's why I love the show, because it's not a 2-hour movie where you got to cram a 40 chapter or 50 chapter book into 2 hours. Span it over 10 episodes. It can be I think even the shortest episode of The Lincoln Lawyer is like 42, 44 minutes.
Pretty short, yeah. That's what I did with Lord of the Rings, where I read The Hobbit and went straight into the movies, and then I revisited the books at a later time period, and they're pretty much the same, save for like 5 like key subplots that have been revised or put in different angles. But it's cool to just have the apples and oranges.
Yeah. But in the book, The Fifth Witness, Mickey Haller actually really gets seriously hurt. In fact, his left nut gets twisted during that fight. when he gets beaten up by two guys in the parking garage.
Yikes!
In season 2, episode 6, when Mickey was either talking to Lorna or Maggie, he was saying that they were just trying to send a message because they didn't touch my cojones, or something like that. And I thought maybe that was just kind of a little bit of play on from the book. At least, at least his nuts were left alone. But in the book, he did. I think it took him longer. In fact, in the book, I think they even had to have a continuance because the court date was coming up. And in the show, he was just wanting to get back and get into trial. Didn't want any continuances at all. So
damn.
Yeah, but it's also hard seeing Mickey taking a beating like that. When they smash his left arm.
Wouldn't know what.
I should ask Ted about how they came across or how they did that. Filming that scene. But yeah, you just see him getting attacked like that, and you just feel for him. But the way they came back from that, with Izzy finding them instead of Maggie or Lorna or Cisco, Izzy was trying to get a hold of him and was worried. Had the navigators air tagged or whatever, so she knew where he was at. Right. Just to have her find him, and call for an ambulance and everything. It's like you see the dynamic between the characters, and I love that because in the books it's there, but you don't really see it. You can read it, type of thing. So.
Absolutely, you get a sense of satisfaction, let alone with how they're all organizing. Yeah, just much like the comedy is there to kind of just give some character moments. Just the other just moments where they're just recovering in the hospital or even just in their apartment after a full day's work just reminds us, the viewer, hey, you might not want to live large like them, but you are fascinated by their intrigue that they built up.
Exactly. Yeah, and then since you're not a book reader, Legal Siegel's role in the books are a little bit different too. I like seeing him in the show because in the books he's kind of bedridden in a nursing home.
Oh, really?
So in the show you get to see him interacting with Mickey out at a tennis court or in a restaurant or at the office. So it's good to see an Elliot Gould. Is that how you say his name? Gould?
I think Gould. Yeah.
Yeah, he does an amazing job with that character.
Long Goodbye, Friends, and Ocean's 11. But yeah, he's pretty much, and to see him in this and Ray Donovan recently is just lovely to see that he can still do the dry drama as well as just the stuck up comedy, and it's just so it really needed it. It was. I love how he's also just predicting Mickey's move and saying, "Well, only someone like you would be crazy to pull that off."
Yep. Where he brings up where even your old man wouldn't have done something like that, or never did something like that. Where they get the fifth witness to plead the fifth. So it's a good dynamic with all the actors, all the characters involved. It's like Mickey hit the door running in season 1, where he had client after client piling up. After a year and a half of having no clients. And then in season 2, you see how famous he is, and he's kind of embracing the fame of it.
And the interns want nothing to do with them, but they're like, hey, we need someone to cut it, throws a bone here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I don't think the interns even have any names, even.
Yeah, intern 1, intern 2, and probably extras. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we hear them. No, I think we heard like 2 of them talk in like the 10th episode of season 2.
Was their voice?
But yeah, with all the work piling up for Izzy and Lorna, they had to get somebody in there to do the work. As Lorna being a second chair, and during the trial in season 2.
I was glad for that, to just see some character progress instead of just, I'm your ex-wife and I happen to manage the firm when you're away. Is like, okay, that's cool, because
exactly
you don't want to risk being a plot device.
Yeah, because in the book she's just the case manager. So I think, Lorna being in law school and sitting second chair for this trial, I like seeing that for the character. I don't know if she's going to adapt. In the books there was a character that Mickey brought in for the real estate. For actually this for the Fifth Witness book, he brings in an associate to help with all the real estate foreclosures and stuff.
It reminds me of when they adapted Dark Winds, that Tony Hillerman program, and they made a disclaimer. And by the way, we're taking Ann Hillerman, his daughter's new take on the female deputy, because we want that strong version of the character in the show. And kind of what they're doing here. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes what they're doing on the show and ups his characters in any future novels.
Yeah, exactly.
Connelly.
But I mean, like I said, there's I think the character's name was like Jennifer in the books. But for the books, he kind of progresses into a top-notch lawyer, but he got her from like a bargain basement college type of thing.
Yeah.
So, but with Lorna, so I think Lorna might be kind of bringing into or filling that character's role in the show, which would be fun to see, because you'll see Lorna and Mickey working together more than what their characters had been in the books.
I would hope, man.
Well, you like seeing the main main five characters. You got Izzy, Lorna, Mickey, Cisco, and Maggie are the main five, but you still get the father-daughter moments with Mickey and Haley,
right?
And then the mentor, Legal Seagull.
Absolutely.
So a nice little break from the legalese and legal parts of the show where Mickey Haller's riding horses with Haley, towards the end of season 2. So
yeah.
So it's nice seeing and like you said, all these side characters that have come in from other projects, and they're not really side characters, but
they're trying to do their own thing instead of we want it to be like this or that.
Exactly. I love is it what's her name? Yaya what's her name? The Andrea Freeman.
Andrea Freeman.
She's the prosecutor in season 2.
Oh yeah. She did great. I just, you want to see that cool legal opponent instead of just someone who just feels like, hey, I'm here till the end of the season. It's like
exactly. It was nice seeing them butt heads at times, but also, what is it? Lorna added up how many straight losses Mickey has had to Andrea Freeman.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's like, no, it hasn't been that many. She's like, no, it is. I counted.
Yeah.
But it's like,
you gotta
between him and Andrea Freeman, it's like he's 10 straight losses to Andrea Freeman, and she was kind of rubbing it in his face at the start of the trial, or before the start of the trial, even during the prelims. So it's like, oh man, you don't want to see her win at the same time, but it's a great actress, great character. So you can't wait to see what happens in the next scene or the next episode.
The character feels vibrantly alive, and kudos to, again, the cinematography, because we can't express that enough, guys. Like we get so sad when we just feel like, my sister doesn't like it when you can tell it's a closed film set, like the characters outside and their hair isn't affected.
Yep.
We all have nitpicks. My issue is when it just feels like an episode is filler.
Yeah.
Like it's inconsequential to the rest. I get that that's going to happen in even the best stuff, but like there's even moments where you'll see that in a different movie or show and you're like, really? They went there?
Yep. Yeah, I've heard that. I've never watched the show, but I heard that like Ted Lasso does that kind of frequently. There's a boring filler episode, and you don't get that with
they were giving Coach Beard his own episode where he goes to dance parties and clubs, but I think the reason it divided half the fan base is how they introduced it. It was like, whoa,
really?
where did this come from? But Ted Lasso is definitely a complex fandom, but I think it was a surprise hit because it just didn't catch on right away. But then after like a year of COVID, like people were quoting it, and I think that's the thing. Like anyone can watch it, even underage kids if they want to, because it's not too bad with the language to where it's just like, yeah, this is too X-rated, but at the same time, like, I think that's an interesting one. It's kind of like if there's people going to come into these shows, Bosch or Lincoln Lawyer, and think it's just one case and done, you got another thing coming. And I think that's just it. Like, people watching Ted Lasso, you're not going to watch this for the sports. You're going to watch this for the office comedy and dramedy and behind the scenes. But it is interesting knowing that something like this can still exist, let alone people can be creative and bring life to a tired genre or subgenre. Telling me what you know about the books, it's even more insightful to just know that where you're going to get this kind of writing again, where the book fans are trying to outpredict what happens and they're satisfied. And then you get a mainstream audience and you can involve them without confusing them to death.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're not a reader of the books, but you love the shows. Or I mean, at least the Lincoln Lawyer. You said you haven't read, but you love the show.
Oh, totally.
Whereas I've read the books, love the books, and I love the show too. Even though there's some times where I see something happening in advance. Was it? I can't remember the episode, but season 2 where the hammer is brought in.
Oh yeah.
So when Mickey comes up to the 11th floor and Lorna's telling him that the judge wants to see them both in chambers, and I'm like, oh, here comes the hammer. Literally,
there we go, hammer time.
And then, sure enough, the Greg's not Greg's.
It was a good plot twist for the audience. They're like, because
Brian,
anyone who hasn't read the books is gonna, we're like, who is this witness that Cisco's getting from the airport? Oh, it's a dummy that's been shipped.
Dummy that he's waiting for. See, that part wasn't in the books. I don't think that part was in the books where he's waiting for Manny to show up. Manny the mannequin. So there's stuff that is new, which is fun. It's like the Manny, and then there's a few other parts where it wasn't in the books, but fun to see something different. But like you said, you don't want a lot of filler parts. You want the case or the storyline to progress nicely, and have these little subplots in there as well. So was it episode 4 where Mickey is helping Terrell Coleman's daughter with the vandalism or her art work on the side of the building? Tracy and I were talking.
Yeah.
Yep. Tracy and I were talking about that last week when the podcast is out for them. I think that's the only episode in season 2 where there's not a court case with Lisa Trammell involved.
Yeah, they took a breather. In the main
courthouse. They're taking a breather, but it's in the juvenile court. But you also get the little bit of fun with the judge saying, we like to keep it loose in here. You want a lollipop, type of thing. And then
I was glad they didn't have Lisa in every scene. Same thing with the game developer, who was sleazy too. Is like it would have been just too much. Okay, we already know you're bad at defending yourself, or just in a wrong place at the wrong time, just continuously. So let's, now that Mickey has calmed you down and you've said your piece, let's just follow the other guys around.
Exactly. We got the Terrell Coleman, we got Sam Scales, you got the Eli Wims, what's her name? The topless sunbather, So you got all these other clients that
off color nicknames.
Yep, off color. So yeah, it was fun. It's fun to see see that come to life in this show.
Not trying to divide anybody.
Characters. Yeah. Exactly. So it's fun, It's a fun show, fun characters, and you fall in love with all the characters, and except for the evil people, you got.
Yeah, but I mean, kudos to, much like Bosch, even though it's not a horror show by any stretch of the imagination, they do a good job of making those serial killers be freaky.
Mm-hmm.
And much like the voyeurism of the city, we still feel like someone's watching over the character's back, let alone we, the audience, feel intrusive when we're looking over their shoulder.
Yeah. We're kind of like the end of episode season 10, or not season 10, season 1, episode 10, where you got the guy watching Mickey surfing on the beach, where they show the left arm, and it's that tattoo guy that Glory Dave is talking about in the trial. So it's like you always feel like you just said there that
that really
somebody's
did
always
freak me out.
watching.
And then it reminded me of the stalker and everything. Oh, that's right, of course. And it makes sense. He would have seen that would have been the first thing he would have seen him if he had been telling him to the beach.
Yep. Well, not only that, but people were also confused because from the back, he looked like Trevor Elliott, the gamer that was the
Oh, yeah,
design
from
gamer
season 1. Yeah.
in season 1. So you think, oh, did Trevor Elliott live and he's, stalking Mickey Holler
He's
now?
somehow,
Oh, he's got that
yeah,
too.
he
He's
survived that
also the
gunshot.
killer of all these prostitutes as well. It's like, boy, this guy gets around. But, but yeah, so different character, different plot, like you said, and it was kind of nice how they carried that over into season 2. So you had the first 2 episodes deal with that crossover, and then you got into the Lisa Bramwell case, and then a few side cases thrown in there as well too. So it's a nice.
How about that one plot twist where we think we're encountering her bitter ex, and it's like, wait a second, that's so not your ex. He doesn't even look like your ex on Google.
What's that now? Sorry.
Remember Lisa was claiming, hey, my ex can testify. Is like, no,
yes.
That's not her ex. That's a coworker who's helping her out. But man, how devious do you gotta be?
If you read the book, you see it happening. But like I said before, sometimes they do change up the subplots or the plots of.
Oh, I'm sure it's hard for anybody creating these. I mean, how much do you reveal from a cinematic standpoint? I mean, we were talking McConaughey earlier. I do like reading John Grisham, but when I read A Time to Kill, I mean, it's much like the Tom Bombadil chapter of Lord of the Rings is ultimately would be not cinematic because it would be a time waster, just showing, hey, this doesn't work. We're still going to have to save the one ring. That's kind of what you get in A Time to Kill. It works as a book at adding layers to, hey, our main character is going to go vigilante. Here's where he bought the gun. Here's how he did this and that to sneak into the court and kill one of his rapists of his daughter. And it's just, but from a movie standpoint, that would have been like, uh-oh, you gave too much away.
Yep. Yeah, movies and shows, they always want to keep you in suspense type of a thing. Keep you guessing, right? Keep you guessing a bit.
Stuff that just is very illuminating, but also, it can only work in a book sense. Same thing with a TV show. Like I keep going back to Lord of the Rings. There's stuff in Rings of Power I think that works there that wouldn't work so much as a movie.
Oh, really?
Oh, just the extra, like there would have been maybe 2 scenes involving the dwarves and the elves, and then they would have gone on to the next adventure.
Oh, okay.
Well, what they do on Rings of Power is fine, but it feels more like what they might have done in Star Wars, where let's do a big 360 of all 3 battles happening at once.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a diss, just an interesting perspective of just like how they do that in that format versus there. I mean, go to even like video games. There's stuff in a video game that will just be too oversaturated and tough to consume and comprehend in a movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Hence why it's now everyone's jumping on the bandwagon again because they're like, hey, we can finally find the right people to adapt a video game and have it make sense.
Yeah, the Last of Us was a fun watch. I never played the video game.
Oh, that's a good contrast there. I mean,
yeah,
I applauded that and the Halo TV show, and some Halo fans
never watched Halo yet. Haven't watched Halo yet.
It's pretty straightforward, but I saw some gamers who didn't give it a chance because you see the character's face, and I'm like, see, you can't say this is like Judge Dredd. Like, you have to get inside this guy's mind if you want to. I mean, they already did it with the Mandalorian, sure, but he ultimately still takes his helmet off. You got to show that the character is living and breathing. But
exactly.
You just can't please everybody. There's some people they hate it when you change anything at all, and I don't get it.
I know. I mean, like I said, they've made changes from the books to the show Bosch, slight changes from the Lincoln Lawyer books to the show, but I love all the changes they've made doing the episodes. But like I said, you can't have it be the same exact thing, or else people will complain that it's too much like the book.
Absolutely. I'm seeing Star Trek fans do some of that, and I'm like, well, if they do this or that, you'd complain it's formulaic.
Yeah. You can never win.
We can't. But fortunately, like Haller, maybe he needs to be the legal advisor for all these teams.
Oh, there you go. But there's always a writer behind the words, right? Type of thing.
Absolutely.
But who's been your favorite character through the first 2 seasons so far?
Oh, definitely Izzy. I feel for that just gal, just having to make ends meet as a college student, out of work, and much like all these other guys, Lorna and everybody, you touched on it earlier. It feels like a family, and
yep,
it's not like what some shows did where, okay, so take for instance, like as an example, like totally different shows, but like Scrubs and CSI, they're a bunch of weirdos who work together, never become a family. Then you see other shows like, again, Star Trek, even some of the Law and Orders, even Criminal Minds. You feel like they could coexist, and you do see them coexist at each other's resort or private house.
Yep.
And having a heart to heart. The West Wing, another example. Just those guys, you could actually tell were actually talking after the fact, regardless of whether they drove each other crazy or not.
Yep. Probably NCIS too as well.
A little bit of that, yeah.
I'm guessing. I don't know for a fact.
No, they got in now with Gary Cole as the lead on that. They definitely have had a lot more heart to heart. A lot more. I mean, Bosch does jazz so well. NCIS has been even more heavy on the piano.
Oh yeah, I've my wife's been rewatching them off of Netflix lately, so
it's fun.
They kind of catching episodes every now and then that I remember, and then a few episodes that I don't. So it's like maybe I should go rewatch, that. But it's like at what, season 17 now?
Yeah,
so.
20.
Season 20. Okay,
Yeah.
so almost 2 seasons back even.
No, it's
but
fine.
I try to catch the big ones. So it's like Gibbs' last episode. I'll try to catch the bigger ones. And
Bones was another one where not everyone saw every episode, but certain episodes, for whatever reason, I don't know if they just syndicated them a lot. Someone somehow caught them, and everyone talked about them. Remember that one where he's revealed to be related to the JFK assassin? Oh my God! Did you see the one where they're in that one morgue, or they're helping that space shuttle? So when people can do a zany episode, it is almost that Twilight Zone moment where you're like,
yep,
gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
Set for life.
Izzy is your favorite character. That's good to hear. I've enjoyed her character as well.
Oh, totally. Because this could have backfired. This could have been another urchin or college kid who isn't fleshed out. I mean, don't get me wrong. I applaud much like Maddie on Bosch and Mickey's daughter. I liked how they didn't spend too long on those, but just enough to where it's like, okay, living and breathing. He's learning how to ride a horse. That's no easy feat.
Well, she's the one learning to ride a horse. Yeah, she's the one learning to ride. He used to ride horses when he was growing up. Is what the show covers. Yeah, that's something I don't think that was something that was brought up in books, but at the same time, sometimes they write in stuff that Manuel's really good at. So when he goes out and he's hitting tennis balls, somebody had seen him posting a video on Instagram where he was smacking tennis balls around the court. They're like, "Oh, let's have Mickey Haller do that for a distraction when things are playing out in episode 2."
Absolutely, and I like how she even makes that smart ass remark. Are you here because you had to take me? It's like, no, ma'am, I want to be with my daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
Fathers are sorry a lot, but this guy ain't no slouch. He's got time and money.
Absolutely.
So you're doing a banger on the Lincoln Lawyer podcast, and Everybody Counts. Would you care to tease on your Michael Connelly verse? Are you going to even venture out into other podcasts?
I have no idea yet.
You do have a good voice, my dude. You're just too close to it.
Well, I do like talking Bosch and Lincoln Lawyer, obviously. That's why everybody had so many shows, Tracy, Pete.
Various interviews.
And Jay,
blessed to have.
It's been fun working with them. Obviously I'm a big Conley fan.
Totally.
So I know I think I'm going to be the main co-host for recapping season 2 for the Lincoln Lawyer with Tracy.
Sweet.
So I'm looking forward to recording those in the next 4 or 5 weeks because
Say hi to Tracy. She is awesome.
Yes, Tracy is awesome. I enjoy talking with her, and it's always fun when she has the games towards the end of the podcast episodes where it's like she really challenges the thinking, type of thing. It's always fun when playing games because obviously, with me posting trivia for the shows, I've been posting Bosch trivia for 3 years, going on 3 years.
No need to do
now.
Wordle, just do Bosch trivia.
Exactly.
It does stop me.
Follow me on Bosch trivia on Twitter. I got
the only Bosch
Facebook.
trivia I know is like, what is the B movie they find in like season 5 or 6, and they're like, oh, that's Hollywood Chainstalkers. But yeah,
well, that's just good. I love the little was it glimpses of that, because you had Troy Evans watching
one of the actors of the show, for those who don't know. Yeah.
Troy Evans Barrels watching a movie at home. It's funny when I post the questions or I create the questions, I forget about them after months or whatever.
Either way, seeing them interact is a blessing. That just shows, hey, they should do some conventions or panels once this AI scandal winds down.
Yeah, exactly. I'm hoping for that because I know Titus and Jamie Hector were both at a con in Houston.
I think I did hear about that. You
3 or 4
shared it
3 or 4 months back, and it's like, I really wish I lived closer to Texas where I could, go there. But I
wish I could go on a weekend when that's happening.
Exactly. I mean, I
live in Dallas, but I work weekends.
Yeah. Well, it's like we're both the Central Time Zone. I'm in Wisconsin. You're in Texas there. So, but it's like, I mean, I did get a great day set visit 2 years ago when I was out in LA when they were filming season 1 of the Bosch Legacy. So it was so cool to meet Maddie and Titus at that time. Right. I got the picture. I almost thought I messed up because Titus and Maddie were in the first scene that I saw. Then it was Titus for the second scene. Then it was Honey Chandler, Maddie's scene, and then I wish I could have been an extra. That would have been fun. But I thought maybe Titus was all wrapped up for the day, so I was asking Asokwe if Titus is still around, or I can get a picture with him because I forgot to get a picture, alongside of him. Well, Ahsoka was taking pictures of me meeting Maddie and Titus for the first time when in between takes when they're filming the scene at the Village Idiot, which is unfortunately closed. I don't know when or whether. But
at least Danny Trejo's taco truck is still out there.
Yes, I got to try the donut place when I go out there next time. I've been out there twice in the last 2 years. I brought my older 2 kids out with me last year.
Sweet.
We traded a few iconic moments. We went up on a Hollywood sign hike where we walked all the way behind the Hollywood sign to get pictures of us together. So I would have traded that for anything. But so there's still a lot of places I want to try. Like you said, Danny Trejo's donuts. I think he's got a taco place or something too. But
yeah.
But so there's still a lot of few places I want to try. I was hoping to get out there this September with the writer's strike going on. I'm like, well, they're not going to be filming anyway, so what's the...
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously, it's not like I'm going to get a set visit, just by making a phone call. But it'd be fun to see them all again. But so for upcoming podcasts, I have Tracy and I recording the 5th episode recap of season 2 this week.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, can't wait. Because it's like that cliffhanger ending was was hard to watch Mickey Haller take the beating, but reading the books, you knew it was coming at some point. Even watching the first 30 seconds of episode 1 of season 2, the beating was coming.
Something's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So keep an eye open for. I'm hoping to start posting some of the trivia that I've been diving into for the Lincoln Lawyer as well, since we're on the Lincoln Lawyer conversation train. I'll be posting that on the Lincoln Lawyer fan group page on Facebook and on Twitter for the @Holler Trivia. I think it's And
Absolutely.
I'll send you the info if you want to promote those. I'll also be promoting those on the Lincoln Law podcast.
Promo or anything, let me know.
Exactly.
I'm
So
here
it's
for
always fun talking Lincoln Lawyer and Bosch stuff with you or with anybody really.
Oh,
Anybody
totally.
who
I
wants to
see
listen.
so many people who only want this kind of crime show, and I'm like, I can watch it all. I can watch my gangster shows like Breaking Bad. I can watch all these other procedural shows like Homicide, Life on the Street, and NYPD Blue, and then I can even talk about both, like The Shield, The Wire.
Yeah, it's always fun to intertwine intertwine shows that kind of remind you of previous stuff. I remember when we were talking earlier tonight.
Yeah. You can be a Star Wars guy, or you can be a Star Trek guy, or you can be a Babylon 5 guy.
Yeah.
Stargate guy.
Pick your poison.
Pick your poison. It's all part of the same. They're two sides of the same coin, and in other cases, they're all on the same assembly line.
Well, when you were talking earlier too about like CBS passing on the Lincoln Lawyer, I remember, the show The Sopranos was shopped around to
everybody,
every network,
and now it's second nature. Yeah, you can have a character being unethical, and we process this.
Yep. And then when HBO picked it up, they're like, okay, let's up the nudity and up the swearing. It's like, I mean, I think HBO was the perfect fit for a show like
it was a perfect fit. I know the guy they fired, who was like the head of vice president of programming, wasn't too crazy about half the HBO shows, and he dissed that one. I'm like, really? Why?
Yeah, right.
Own it.
And then you got was it like some networks that'll pass on a show that'll regret it later on? Was it that Fox picked up Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
Firefly,
canceled after like season 6 or 7, and NBC picked it up for a season or two.
Even shows that should have never been canceled. Jericho, Deadwood, even Oz, I could have done maybe 5 more seasons of. There's so many shows that even Sons of Anarchy is like, you see people who are cynical about that one, and it's like, well, that was kind of the essence. It was a cynical show.
Yeah, exactly. I've just started rewatching that. It's been about 3 or 4 years since I've finished watching
Isn't
it the
wild
first time through.
How they use the same gangs, the fictional gangs, the 1-9ers from SWAT and the Shield.
Do they? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
The 1-9ers.
I didn't. Oh, that's interesting. That's
mind
awesome.
blown.
Exactly.
If you love the Shield, I know this is a few years old. Check out the Shattered Shield podcast.
The Shattered Shield podcast.
They do an awesome recap of every single episode, as well as the comic book and video game. And they got to interview creator Sean Ryan and company. And much like your show, and hopefully like many of the other recap shows, they do a good job of just having casual conversation. And it's not just whoever saw the episode.
Yeah. Another one like that then is Talking Sopranos. If you like the you like the show The Sopranos, Michael Imperioli and Steve Sciarippa.
Oh, totally. They caught up on so much stuff, and it
all
was
episodes. They break down the movie, the Many Saints in Newark, and actually, it's a little not as a plug, but I'm actually going to be seeing them live this Saturday. They're
sweet.
They're going to be at Mystic Lake Casino in Minnesota up here.
Of course, it's a casino.
Yeah, they had a casino. Conversation with the Sopranos. I know they've done shows all over the globe. It's mainly on the East Coast, since the show was taking place in Jersey. But so I get to see the conversations with the Sopranos this Saturday.
And you hear them evolve and reflect on their acting choices.
Exactly.
Which is rare, because some people are just like, look at how shiny I am here. I'm like, well,
yep.
We know you are. Why?
Yeah.
How'd you get there?
But they also do dive into that as well, how they got the roles that they got. And in Talking Sopranos, they actually have a lot of the cast members and behind the scenes production crew do interviews with them. So if you get a chance to check out those, in fact, I think they re-edit them, and you can actually watch the podcasts on HBO or now it's called Max, but it was HBO.
I think so. Yeah, it's changed its name more times than Prince.
So if I do a re-dive into the podcast, I do want to see it, because they're going to be editing in the scenes from the show of the scenes they're talking about, type of thing. So so if you get a chance to check out that podcast, that's fun.
I will try. I've only seen clips of it here and there, but it's interesting just that Imperioli and company they're just ready to talk for hours.
Oh, absolutely.
Dads from the Crypt is another good one. That is the head writers of Tales from the Crypt and some super fans. They got two different ones. But yeah, I mean, it's just cool to see anyone just do a labor of love and then just be natural storytellers. And regardless of even if you remember the episode or have seen it or not, it's just cool to see that this can be a recurring podcast. You can listen to it anytime, anywhere, even 10 years from now.
Exactly. and that's just it. I mean, The Sopranos was off the air for 15 years before they even started up the Sopranos one. So
West Wing Weekly was another one. There's everybody.
Yeah. Well, you're mentioning one earlier, the 24 podcast.
20 years of 24. Yep.
20 years of 24, because when I was diving into some villain characters, I saw that it was celebrating 20 years 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So 24 is turning, what, 23 this year? It's like, wow.
Yeah.
I forgot how long ago that started, because I was a fan right from the get-go back in or was it 2001? Because I know they pushed back the premiere because of 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
So it started in November instead of.
They lucked out.
It was supposed to start in September, but they pushed it back 2 months because of 9/11. That's what it was.
They had to make it work somehow.
Exactly, and I'm glad they did, because that show was my, besides the Sopranos back then, that was my, top 5 favorite
Absolute
shows.
dynamite. Yeah. I've been wanting to rewatch it for quite a while now, but now I only have time to like rewatch a clip from it because I've just seen so many episodes so many times. And it's like, yeah, well, when I get caught up on these 2 other shows, I'm starting the marathon again.
There you go. And that's for 24.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty, I mean, don't get me wrong. I know so many of the characters inside and out. It's just, it never gets old for me.
I bet. Well, it's like we were talking about earlier, it's a cliffhanger ending every single episode,
Mm-hmm.
But we'll probably talk more about that on the next podcast, right?
Promise. Promise. We'll get there.
I'm looking forward to that as well. So, But to wrap up this Lincoln Lawyer recap episode podcast, I did put together like what I'm hoping to see in potential future seasons for Netflix. I heard something, I don't know if it was clickbait or not, but I heard that the showrunner has plans for 4 seasons.
Ooh.
So I'm hoping there'll be a 5th season, because how I want to see it played out is at the end of season 2, we see the setup for the Gods of Guilt.
I hope that is not clickbait. I hope that is so legit and they're just pushing it around.
And I know it's gotten a lot of views and it's been the top 10, top 5. I mean, obviously after a couple of weeks, other shows or other movies come out that, take away from viewership. But what I'm hoping for is at least 5 seasons, because there's 5 books I'd love to see covered. I mean, obviously there's been 3 books that have been covered with the movie and the 2 seasons of the show. So you got Gods of Guilt. Hopefully it'll set up season 3. I'd love to see the reversal be season 4, because then you see Mickey Haller cross over to be a prosecutor on a case. And he works with Maggie.
I did read how one of those was the most popular book. So that is cool, that if they're going to, I mean, it only makes sense. I mean,
Yep.
Well, look at The Flash, for instance. They took one of the infamous comic books and they adapted that as the movie. It doesn't make sense. If this is the most popular book, you might as well adapt it.
Exactly. So I'd love to see that for a season 4 with the reversal, where you see Maggie and Haller working together. And also in the book, it's Bosch that works as the detective for Haller, but obviously in the show it'd have to be Griggs. But we'd see a more expanded role for Griggs in that case.
Absolutely. His character can grow more than the pages.
Exactly. Because they're trying to reverse a character that is getting out of jail after serving 15, 20 years of a potential life sentence because of some kind of evidence that was found that, was going to reverse the prison sentence. Nice. So Haller and Maggie work together, and with Griggs, or it'd be with Griggs, but Bosch in the books. But and then for season 5, I'd love to see the Law of Innocence come into play, because then you get the bad guy from season 2 here coming back to try to try to take down Mickey Haller
Screw it up again.
for the antics of season 2 or the book The Fifth Witness. So
nice.
that's what I'm hoping to see for potential, future seasons of The Lincoln Lawyer. Hopefully there's, like I said, hopefully that wasn't clickbait, that there is a plan for 4 seasons. I hope they don't go from Gods of Guilt into the Law of Innocence, because I kind of like to see it play out a little bit longer time frame wise. But obviously, you never know with streaming services. I know Netflix is kind of, they're not, sometimes they're kind of quick to axe shows, even if they
unfortunately
even if they end on a cliffhanger. It's like I was a fan of the Santa Clarita Diet, with Drew Barrymore. And,
it's like, why do you guys hate us?
Yeah. They end an episode on a cliffhanger, end a season on a cliffhanger, and they're like, "Oh, we're canceling it." It's like, wait a minute, don't
wait
end
just
a show on a cliffhanger and then cancel it. Make a movie, send it off.
I mean, the Deadwood movie shouldn't have even had to come out that far down the road. It should have been
because the show ended 10 years before,
like 05, and it's just like I mean, it was a good standalone movie, but it was like but why?
Yep.
Can't have nice things.
Every time I bring that up, or every time I kind of bring that up with ending shows on cliffhangers, my dad brings up the show Alien Nation back in the day.
There you go. There's a throwback.
Then, like 3 years later, they put out a movie, and then they kind of tried to revitalize the show, but it kind of flopped. Now, I was really young back then. That was late 80s, early 90s time frame, if I'm not mistaken. So I was still kind of young that time, so I don't really remember that. But like you said, Deadwood's a good example for current time frame.
Really, if you ever want to do an episode on that one, let me know.
I haven't even watched the full Deadwood show. I keep being told to, and I did start. I think I got into the season 2.
If you like that or Justified, I think. I mean, Justified is definitely another one where it's like when it came back, everyone was kind of pumped because kind of like The Shield, like it combines gritty crime and police work with country-ish gangsters and just showing you how everybody's got to get their hands dirty just
there's so many shows I gotta watch. And I know I rewatch a lot of shows, but obviously you gotta have your go-tos.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, I restarted watching Sons of Anarchy just because it had been so long since I first watched the show through. So I think what is it? So you always have the go-tos: Breaking Bad, Sopranos, Bosch, Lincoln Lawyer.
It's all there.
It's fun to kind of revisit the shows, but then you kind of have to make time to kind of throw in some new ones.
I did that with all the Star Treks, where I it's basically my custom playlist now. Where I'm like, I'm rewatching that episode again. I've done it twice. This one I'll watch again. This one's a 50-50.
Yeah, I've seen my wife do that too. She's like I said, she's watching NCIS, and she'll start up an episode, and I'll be doing something on my laptop or phone, and she'll be like, all of a sudden, just kind of skipping through the end of the episode. She's like, "Oh, I've seen that one too many times," or "I don't care for that episode," so she'll skip it. I'm like, "Okay,
fair enough."
Back to my phone, so it's all good. Well, it's been awesome talking to Lincoln Lawyer with you and other shows as well. It's always fun to mix things in.
It's just more fun just breaking down a show, because compared to a movie where you're having to eventually say where a franchise went downhill or got great, like on the show, you're pretty much illustrating the ups and downs continuously.
Exactly. It's always fun talking
and making us just more happy about storytelling, of people able to compromise without being shut down by a studio, without offending people, and allowing all these other talents to bring their creations to life, even making you want to read a little more, or even look at the scripts saying, how did they adapt that from paper to from page to
That's why I always like the interviews when I co-host with Tracy on the podcast for the breaking down of the episodes, but she's usually done the interviews with the showrunners or the co-producers and stuff like that.
So many tidbits. It's like,
I know, I love getting those. And even sometimes if you, I know that Tracy's asked Dalen Rodriguez a couple of the questions that I've posted or I've asked Tracy to kind of pass along.
Mhm.
So I know there was the I think she mentioned to her about that I loved the 6th Street Bridge shot in the Lincoln Lawyer season 2 episode 2. And then she brought up a question. Oh, it was the how they got the camera angle when they were the first opening shot of season 2 episode 1, where you have the pan episode or the pan shot from all the buildings, and then they kind of zoom into the parking garage.
Yes. Oh my God.
So she mentioned it was a drone shot because I didn't know if it was a crane or if it was a crane shot that they got the skyline.
I couldn't tell either if it was a drone or a crane.
Yep, but Dalen did answer it was a drone that they used for that shot.
Sweet.
So, and she even said that they kind of used the drones a little bit more in season 2, and it's like the one of my favorite camera shots from Bosch is in season 4, where Bosch just finds the camera the phone. The phone. Blank on the name. The phone on Angel's flight. And then you see the drone shot where it's above Angel's flight. It reminded me of the scene where in season 2, episode 4, when Andrea Freeman pulls the plea deal, and you get the same kind of drone shot above the pedestrian bridge that is being used in seasons 1 and 2 both.
They got their notes.
They got the notes. Or they know what not people that enjoy cinematography, See, because I love shots of the city and shots
and it means something as opposed to, hey, a fancy car commercial.
Exactly. Buy this book or buy this car. But, so I love the pan, back out shots with the drones that they use for the shows. So to get the overview of things like that. So, yeah, but it's been fun talking with you.
Anytime, my dude. It's fun to do these sit downs and just allow everyone to reminisce on what just moved them as a viewer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be fun to hear other people's thoughts too on that. So.
I know, man. I see so many. It's like, I feel like you want to share your voice.
Yes. Come on in.
What's a podcast? I don't have Zoom or Skype. Just use your phone. I don't know how to use it on my phone. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I'm using on my phone right now is for the Zoom. So
there you go.
It works. I make it work because it's easy. I mean, I have a laptop, but it's an older laptop, so I haven't even tried Zoom on it because I'm like, it's kind of slow. I don't want to risk it. It's kind of slow when I'm going from the show to my Word document to type up questions for when I get to a part of the episode where I'm like, oh, that might make a good trivia question, or when I'm doing the recap,
don't want to risk
breakdowns. Yeah, so I don't want to lose the connection I mean, my wife's got her laptop I could use as well, but I figured I like my laptop, it's got all my stuff on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Godspeed to you out there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Always a blast, my dude.
Fun talking.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win. On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and foodie debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win Show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up